Every business wants good customer reviews. Every customer wants a good experience. So what happens when both sides click? Or in some cases, when they don't? From Yelp and Entrepreneur Media, this is Behind the Review.
Behind the review, dig deeper too. Behind the review, get all the news. Food, flowers, fixing, make business boom. Behind the review, dig deeper too.
I'm Emily Washkovic, Yelp's small business expert. On Behind the Review, I pick one review on Yelp and talk to the entrepreneur and the reviewer about the story and business lessons behind their interactions. This week, I'm excited to feature Mexican Mom, an authentic Mexican restaurant located in Spring, Texas, and recommended by former Yelp employee Brett Nels. Let's see what's behind this week's review.
As we were pulling up, my wife looked over and said, I think that's that same exact building that we went to a few months ago. And it turned out that it was. And so our experience started off a little bit sad because we were sad for that business that they had closed down. And it really just kind of goes to show why it is so hard for these small businesses. Even a place that is doing kind of like the main thing that you would think would be important for a restaurant, which is serving amazing food, it's still such a struggle, such a fragile environment. And that's why I write a review for every single place that I go to, because I know how hard it is and hopefully it can help them. So that's how our experience started, right? And then we walk into Mexican Mom and they have completely head to toe, end to end renovated this building that we had been in a few months ago. You would never know it's the same place. It looks like something out of HGTV. Every little detail, like the ring for the napkin holders, like every part of this business is so meticulously crafted with just such an elegant touch. It's not cookie cutter at all. The one thing they kept is the brick wall, and it looks great. It blends in with all of the kind of modern stylings that they did. So aesthetic, 10 out of 10. And it really kind of sets the mood for the food that you are soon to experience once you sit down.
That's Brett N. telling us why he thinks it's important to review every restaurant he goes to and describing his first encounter with Mexican Mom. Let's hear Brett's review.
Why 5 stars? Because everything about the experience was high quality. I watched the glowing reviews piling in for Mexican Mom and knew I had to check it out ASAP. So we recently headed down to Sawdust Road to see what all the hype was about. As we pulled into the parking lot, I had a bittersweet moment as my wife pointed out that this had taken over the space of a Cajun restaurant that we really loved. And while that bummed us out, I'm happy to say that Mexican Mom has done some really great things with this space. The interior looks like something you'd see on HGTV. While I love the food from the former tenant, everything was pretty dark and outdated. Now the space is open and bright. As for the food itself, this is much more authentic Mexican cuisine than a lot of the Tex-Mex places that you'll find and at all of the different Gringos and Papacitos of the world, all of the different Houston chains. But just because it's a bit different doesn't mean that it's not awesome. We started off with the chori queso, which was honestly the best thing that we tasted here. I could not have ever imagined coming back to Mexican Mom without ordering this, and I cannot recommend highly enough that you do the same. My wife ordered the chicken quesadilla, and I ordered the chicken enchilada. We both thought that the quesadilla was a little bit on the dry side at first, but once we added the pico de gallo, it made things much better. My enchilada was really great, and it tasted super fresh. I did not feel like I just ate a pound of grease afterward, which is pretty standard after the usual Tex-Mex experience in Houston. We finished with the chocolate tres leches, which was as awesome as it sounds, and it looks just as great in the photo that I added. The service was great, and Mexican Mom herself came by our table a couple of times when she had a free moment. She was super friendly, and she engaged our 4-year-old and brought him some toys and stickers. These little touches make such a huge difference for a new business. After one visit, I have no doubt this restaurant will be a massive success.
What a thorough review. Brett covered so many different elements of his experience. The visuals, the food, the service, he really hit on it all. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to create those memorable experiences at Mexican Mom. I sat down with Gina Antimo and Jaime Reverte, the husband and wife team behind Mexican Mom, to hear their story.
I started this business a little more than 15 years ago. And several reasons I started. He used to have a golf store, and well, he needed to have lunch. And all his coworkers started like, can we have some of that lunch? Can we pay her? So that's when I started to see the need for everybody to have a good meal, homemade meal. And that's one little thing that caught my attention. And then my kids started growing. I started having more time in my hands. So I started catering that way in a bigger scale. I started doing Mexican, mostly Mexican. But as the little business started growing and started getting bigger and bigger, their needs were different. They wanted more Italian. It depended on the party they were, the team that were working on their party. So I started learning more cuisines, more techniques, and that's how we started. And then we came to the Woodlands, and my kids grew even more. They went to college. So the pandemic hit, and then they needed mom in some way. We couldn't visit them. They couldn't come to us. So I started thinking, how can I do it so they can have a little bit of home right there? So I started learning how to can my sauces. So they can just sear anything, fish, chicken, whatever, veggies, and just open the jar and have a little bit of mom right there in their kitchens. So that's how the name started. Because I'm a Mexican mom, what can I tell you? Always taking care of my babies, even if they're old and they live by their own, but I still take care of them.
I absolutely love this origin story. And if I'm being honest with you, there were multiple moments in this business owner interview that I teared up. Gina is such an incredible person, and her love, warmth, and passion radiated through my computer screen. So I can only imagine what it's like to meet her in person and eat her food in her presence. Brett said that the most memorable part of his experience was being welcomed in as a family member rather than just a customer. Even as the business has grown, Gina still makes sure to step out from behind the kitchen and connect with her customers directly. And that makes an impact.
What separates the experience from just any other place that maybe offers great service is that both times Mexican mom herself came out to talk to us afterward. And both times that we visited, she was pretty busy. Most of the tables were full. So the second visit, she didn't even have any time. You can see there's a kind of an open kitchen. So you could see her working away the whole time. And we actually were the last ones in there after the end of the lunch rush. And she came out both times, and she didn't know me or who I was or that I was going to be doing this podcast in a couple of days. I told her later, but she came out to the table. The first time that we visited, our son had recently broken his leg. And so he's in a cast. It had just happened a few days earlier. And so we were all kind of sad and bummed out. And she just immediately came out and made him happy and brought him toys and, just engaged with him. And you could tell within a moment that it was just naturally her and who she is.
These touch points with guests and the balancing act of being in the kitchen while also connecting with customers is made possible by the interior of her restaurant, which was intentionally designed to make a welcoming and family-like atmosphere.
There's a party every day. It's like they're being in your house every day. It's like having your friends and family every day at home. You just don't sit, but you just don't. But you still enjoy it, because my joy is being there cooking and having everything ready. And if they don't like it, I'll switch it. And if they want something specific, we'll do it for them. If they don't feel like it, if they don't want spicy, if they're sick, I make a chicken soup, whatever they want. That's why the open kitchen concept is, because I still wanted to interact with people. I didn't want to be on the back in a kitchen by myself. No, 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 no. I wanted to interact. And that's the best part of my place, that I'm here. I'm everybody's mom.
One thing that I always tell Gina that I've noticed since we opened the restaurant is that sometimes I'm the waiter in the afternoons because we have a waiter in the morning and I have another business, but in the afternoons I'm always here. And I see people come in that they had a bad day, they went through some bad news. I do see that they're in a bad mood. You see that they're actually very serious. They don't want to talk. They're like doubting about a Mexican restaurant because, everything in Texas, almost all the restaurants in Texas are Tex-Mex. So they see the menu and they kind of feel strange because they were expecting Tex-Mex. They weren't expecting authentic Mexican food. And I always tell Gina that it's amazing how the transformation starts once you start giving them the appetizers. And then they start getting, oh, no, I'm going to have a beer. Then they have a beer. They say, oh, so what do you recommend? Well, I recommend enchiladas or whatever Gina decided to cook this week. And at the end of the day, at the end of their meal, they're happy and smiling and they're saying, hey, and I always tell Gina, go talk to your customer because you're Mexican mom. And she comes out and she says, oh, yes, even if she's busy, she's super busy, she'll come out and talk to the guests because we don't call them customers. And they'll be happy to meet her and they leave with a big smile. And I always tell Gina, I don't know what your food booth that actually transforms the day of the people. They come in one way and they leave a complete different way. So that's something that really stands up for me.
Like the environment, Brett says the food he eats at Mexican Mom makes him feel light, energized, and happy.
As a professional eater of an exorbitant amount of food on the weekends, I have had many experiences where maybe the food is great, but then like afterward feeling the pain of like, oh, I ate a lot of food, right? On both of my visits to Mexican Mom, I ate, felt completely satisfied, walked out of there, and honestly didn't even feel like I just ate in terms of, I couldn't tell you what the fresh ingredients are. Again, I'm a novice in the kitchen myself, but you can tell when 2 hours after eating a really big meal, you feel great. And that's how it was for my wife and I at both times that we visited.
And there's a reason why Brett feels so great after every meal at Mexican Mom. Gina and Jaime emphasize that they only use fresh ingredients for better quality and taste.
I always try to cook with fresh ingredients. It's easier, it's cheaper. You always have an onion, you always have a garlic, you always have tomatoes. Just put them together and there's flavor. You don't need those powders and those things that you cannot pronounce. No, you can have it there. It's easy. It's easy. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
She personally goes every week to all the ingredients. We don't get a big truck outside delivering all the frozen food that all these big companies do. That's something that she decided from the start she was never going to do. Everything was going to be fresh ingredients and cooked at the moment. This is not a fast food establishment. It's a restaurant. And it's going to take you 20 minutes to get your plate because it's personally cooked by her or supervised by her that the food is fresh and perfectly made.
In addition to keeping things fresh in the kitchen, Gina likes to encourage customers to be experimental with trying new foods. She offers a rotating menu, taking request items from customers or new foods.
Nowadays, I do the pictures so they know what they're getting because the title's in Spanish and then they read it in English, but they don't envision it. What is it? How does it look? What color is it? What's in it? So I print the pictures. And you know what's been happening? A lot of my guests come back and they say, when are you going to have the mole? When are you going to have those black things and moladas? Yes, those. When are you going to have yesterday he told me, when are you going to have the fish ensenada? So they even remember the name. They've never tried it before and they remember the name because they loved it so much. So they come back and ask for it. And I said, when do you want it? Next week? Yes, next week. And even Mexicans, they come and they say, okay, I'm from Sinaloa and my mom used to make this for me. Can you make it? Yes. When do you want it? I will be out of town, but I will be here in 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks. Check my menu and it'll be there. So that to me, it's fantastic. I love it. I love it. That's the best part of my job, that they even ask me for things that they have tried or that they had at home back many years ago. And I bring them back and they a lady just cried. She was having memories. And my mom used to make this fideo soup. My mom used to make the corn soup. He said exactly the way my mom used to make this corn soup. So I love it. But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of planning because I need to see first, believe it or not, the weather. Because if it's gonna be 100 degrees outside, like in Texas, nobody's gonna want a soup. And what's gonna happen if it's Teachers Week, if it's gonna be Mother's Week, if it's gonna be, I don't know, vacation. So I think, okay, kids don't have school, they might come, so I'm gonna have something that kids would like. And so that's a lot of planning. And the ingredients, in order to have them fresh, sometimes I use them for two different things in two completely different ways. So I get the big boxes, but we use it in two different ways in 2 days. So that's a lot of planning, a lot of thinking.
Through this rotating menu, Brett was able to taste a fusion of a Texas classic and Mexican flavors, the Mexican chicken fried steak. It sounds life-changing.
Something that's great about Mexican Mom is they have a weekly menu that changes every week, in addition to their kind of set in stone regular items that they offer. And I had a very active morning, played some basketball, was still in a fasted state. I was ready to just say, I'll take 3 of everything off the menu. And then I looked at I wasn't sure what to get. I wanted to try something different as much as I loved the enchiladas the first time. And there was something on the menu, and it was called, on the weekly menu, it was called Milanesa and Salsa Morito, which is Mexican chicken fried steak. For any Houstonian or probably Texan in general, chicken fried steak is a staple item on many menus in the area. I've had many countless experiences at Mexican restaurants, and I've had more chicken fried steaks than I can remember. I've never had Mexican chicken fried steak, and I'm here to tell you it was the perfect marriage of Mexican food and chicken fried steak, truly. I think that anyone hearing this, if you go to Mexican Mom, you might need to reach out to them ahead of time on Yelp or on social media and say, tell me that the Mexican chicken fried steak is available this week. Check the weekly menu, maybe do a special request. Maybe it'll eventually be on the permanent menu. This was one of the best things I've eaten in the past year.
And although Brett's review was mostly glowing, he made sure to add one piece of advice for one of the Mexican Mom menu items.
Both of us took a couple of bites of it, and we were like, it's a little drier. And then I don't know if the pico had accidentally got moved off to the side or something, but we just kind of forgot about it. And so I feel bad that if the owner is reading that and is thinking, well, did you add the pico? But also for the consumer, I don't want them to make the same mistake that we did, because sometimes you don't really think about that. Like maybe you just start chowing down on the quesadilla. So I want everybody to know, both the consumer and the business owner. But, that it's really a testament to how great Mexican Mom was both times that we visited, that really that was the only thing that we could think of, is that for half a minute, we didn't completely love something, and then everything else was heaven on earth.
We're going to be right back after a quick break. When running a small business, unexpected costs can pop up anytime. Equipment breakdowns, license and permit fees, even payment delays. If you don't address them quickly, they could make or break your business. But the traditional loan process is too slow. Here's the solution you need. Zinch, a direct lender that makes financing fast, simple, and built around your needs. If you're generating over $10,000 in monthly revenue and have been in business for over 6 months, Zinch can fund up to $250,000 in less than 2 days. The process is simple and quick. Answer some basic questions about your business and receive a pre-qualified offer in less than 5 minutes without affecting your credit. Then complete a simple application. Once approved, one of Zinch's loan advisors will review the options and help you choose the best one for your business. Sign your loan documents securely online and receive funds into your bank account within 24 hours. Zinch really makes it that easy because they're designed specifically for small businesses like yours. See how much financing you can get with Zinch. Right now, Zinch is waiving the application fee for Behind the Review listeners, a $250 value. Just go straight to this special URL, financingthatworks.com. Again, that's financingthatworks.com. Loans made or arranged pursuant to a California finance lender's law license. Brett is someone who makes sure to write reviews for every restaurant he goes to. And he says that it's very important for him to remain respectful when offering his opinion. He knows that any sort of criticism is difficult to accept, and he tries his best to make his comments helpful to the business owners and to potential consumers.
I really just try to think of like, if I were the business owner reading this, what would be the most helpful to them? Especially when I do have to write a review that has maybe some criticisms in it. I always try to be as constructive as possible. Again, thinking of if the business owner was standing right next to me and said, I want you to be honest, tell me what you thought, I would say it to them. I write it the same way that I would say it to their face.
Sometimes criticism can even be more helpful than positivity. In this case, Gina was able to take Brett's advice into consideration and revamp the menu item. By taking the criticism as friendly advice, as opposed to something personal or harmful, Gina was able to make quality improvements.
When I read his comment, that's when it clicked to me. Okay, it was on the dry side. Perfect. I love it because maybe nobody was, or maybe people was afraid to tell me, oh, your chicken quesadilla wasn't the best. But you know what? I fixed it because of him and his beautiful comments. And now I heard people coming and saying, I want the chicken quesadillas because they are the best chicken quesadillas. What I did, I said, okay, let's do one quesadilla with chicken in green salsa and one quesadilla in red salsa and mix them and put them together. And now you have a mix in between an enchilada and a quesadilla. So they are the best quesadillas, the best chicken quesadillas. And thanks to him. And yes, that's why I read them all. And yeah, it didn't break my heart because I knew it wasn't the best. I knew, but it helped me a lot to improve my cooking. I loved it. I really loved it. I really appreciate it. And there you go. One thing led to another. And here we are talking about exactly that same review.
It's admirable how Gina's able to create an environment where requests and comments from customers are valued. Brett says you can really tell that she and Jaime view every person that steps into their restaurant as family.
I can't reiterate enough that you go to Mexican Mom, you're going to have great food, but you're going to feel like you're a member of the family, even if you're a stranger. And you don't get that very often. And it's really no wonder why, as we have this conversation, Mexican Mom has 34 reviews, and 33 of them are 5 stars.
And while some businesses define success by when they get to open the second location, for others, success is filling the space they already have and leveraging reservations to maximize the use of that space. There isn't one cookie-cutter definition of what the success of a business is, and there shouldn't be.
I'm happy with the amount of people I can take care of because if we grew up, how am I going to do it? I want to take care of everybody the way I'm doing it, the way they're feeling it. And I'm making, with these 2 little hands, I'm making every dish, every plate, and supervising every detail.
And that concludes our episode. Be sure to subscribe so you get new episodes every Thursday. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to take a thing or two away to implement in your own life. Whether it's a new idea that you can bring back to your business or a fresh perspective on how to be a positive influence as a consumer, we share these stories to inspire and create more meaningful connections in your local community. For more information about today's business or to connect with me, check out the show notes.
Behind the review, dig deep into behind the review. Get all the news, food for hours fixing, make business boom. Behind the review, dig deep into
This episode featured a conversation with Gina Antimo and Jaime Reverte, the wife and husband duo who own Mexican Mom, and Brett N., a reviewer and former Yelp employee living in Houston, Texas. Special thanks to Angela Lee, who helped write this episode. To learn more about the story, check out the blog post, and you can find the show notes by going to yelp.com/behind the review. Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you get an alert each Thursday that we drop a new episode. To claim your own Yelp business page and start engaging with consumers, visit business.yelp.com. Our theme song is performed by Ali Schwartz and produced by Robbie G of Messerol Sound.